where we left off, we tried to import, or I tried to import this into Google Earth, but it didn't work. It actually crashed Google Earth. And it really has to do with the fact that this source data is in this non-standard Fargo ground coordinate system. And it's quite easy to get it into another format, such as WGS84. I'll show you how to do that. Now, when you first import any data into a new map document, the layer frame will inherit whatever the source data coordinate system is, and that's what it will display this in. Now, we can't transform it from here, but we can show it or reproject it in a different format. So what I'll do is go to predefined world, let's go back up here, predefined geographic coordinate system, world, and WGS84, hit apply, hit yes on that, close this. It's the same data, it's the same projection system tied to that data, it's just displayed differently, and that's really important when we export this. So to export the data, we've done that a few times. I'll right click on that feature set. Before I do that, let's take a look at the attribute table. Now, you should know that there's a lot more attributes here than what we see. We've just hidden a few from the properties. I'll go ahead and hide these two. I don't want to delete it, I just want to turn field off. When we do a data export, it only will export the visible table. So it essentially is recreating this database with only two, the type and the true height, which we created. And that just makes it a little bit easier for the next step. So I'll go down to data, export data. This part's pretty important. Whenever you export it, you can either choose the layer source data, which is that non-standard Fargo coordinate system, or we can do the data frame coordinate system, which we just set to WGS84. So very important that you do that step. Now when I select here, this will be exported and effectively transformed. So I'll go ahead and save this to that same folder that is in, and I'm going to give this name of dtfargo wgs84.shp. Make sure this drop down is on shapefile, and we'll save that. We don't need to add this because we'll be going straight to Google Earth Pro. I'll do a file import. I have to tell it that it's a shapefile, and I don't want to do that. As I showed you before, it'll probably crash Google Earth, but if I go ahead and select that one that I just created, I don't get the error message. I get a much nicer message asking me if I'd like to apply a style template. So we'll go ahead and do that really quick. For the name, we'll just give it the name by type. So each polygon that is created will be named commercial dwelling or apartment. For color, I'll set the color from a field, and we'll set this from type as well. But really important here, just for managing this, we'll create subfolders for each bucket. So that means it not only colors them differently, it puts them in different folders, and you'll see why that's important. You have to give it a name. I'll just give it the same name. And you actually have to do this, it doesn't work. We'll color it later, I'll just leave those as black. Let's see here. Can I get to the bottom of my screen? Barely. Oh, for height, I don't want to forget the height. I'll do set height from field, set true height, do continuous, keep the scaling factor at 1, but this part's really important. It's kind of confusing, but you want the minimums to match up, otherwise you get some weird scaling, and we want the maximum to match up. So we'll set those, we'll set our heights to feet, everything else should be good. And I just need to figure out how to get to the bottom of the screen. You know, I gotta make my window larger here for 1 second. There we go. Now I can at least get my OK. It'll ask if you want to save that style template so you can reapply it to more data later on. It places it in the temporary places, so I'll go ahead and expand that, and I'll just drag that folder right up to my places so it stays on the computer, and go ahead and turn it on. You know, I'm going to turn off the other layers in Google Earth. So there it is. It's all lined up. It's pretty good. There's a few things we may want to tweak, such as like the Civic Center is probably a little bit taller than that. That's a field we had to kind of fudge the height because it wasn't entered in the attribute table. But let's go ahead and style this a little bit more. So I'll right click, go to properties, whoops, and I don't want to actually go on that. I'm going to open this up, and now I've got my convenient folders here. So for commercial, I'll share that style. I'm going to set the lines to 0 just because I kind of like it that way. For the color, we'll give it red. Don't want random selected, and I'll put that as 50. You don't have to do these exact same settings. I just happen to like this. So that one is done. Let's go ahead and do apartments. Share style, not random. Setting that to 0 turns off the lines, and we'll give the apartments yellow. Give that a little bit higher opacity just for the heck of it. Finally, dwelling. Of course, this is all just an example. You're all going to have different examples when you turn this in. Right? Let's see. Give that green. Alright, so everything is styled and looks nice. Now we need to turn this into a tour. So whenever I create a tour, I like to put everything in a folder, and since this is already in a folder, you know what, let's just rename that and call it a tour. And you can save place marks or snapshot a view with a place mark. You can also snapshot a view with a folder. So if I were to right click over commercial and do snapshot view for that, let's see. Now this is really more just to show you how to snapshot views, not necessarily snapshotting good views. Snapshot view on apartment and snapshot view on dwelling. So if I double click on either one of these, they jump to that view. But it also opens up the folder, which I don't want. But you can see that it snapshots to those views. And because I don't like those folders opening up, what I'll do is create a place mark. And I'll use that to snapshot the view instead. So set the label to 0 and that to 0. The reason now is because that just saves that view. Then I will copy and paste that a couple times. Just renaming them. Okay, so let's change these again. I'll right click on view 2, snapshot view, and I'll go to a top view. Right click, snapshot view. So here's my tour. I can just click through these and it follows through. But if we want a self-playing tour, there's a few ways to do this, which I showed in class. I'm sure everyone remembers exactly what they are, so I'll show them again anyway. Oops, I clicked on one. Don't want to do that. I'll go ahead and use this record tour option because that records the movements, and you can turn things on and off. So if I click here, hit the record button, it's now recording my tour, timing and everything, but I'll just click on view 1, maybe count off in my head a few seconds, click on view 2, and click on view 3. And then I'll go ahead and stop that. So it saves that in that order, and it'll play through here. It's kind of choppy, but that's more just because I'm emulating this on not entirely fast internet. Finally, you need to save it by clicking this button here. So we'll give this one and then we can close that. So the one thing we're missing is image overlays. How do we do that? It's actually quite, well, I think it's easy, but I would recommend just going to Google and search for how do I add a screen overlay in Google Earth. The first link is a whole set of KML tutorials. One of these is screen overlays. There's a lot of ways to do this, but this sample will work good for now. I'll go ahead and copy that code. And if you remember, copying and pasting or importing snippets of KML is as simple as just right-clicking somewhere under your places and going to paste. So there it is. That little image is the one I just created. So what I'm going to do here is just go to a text browser, paste that same snippet of code, and you can see here the href, that's the actual image. And you should recognize that as a URL, location from a file that's living on the internet. You can then do something as simple as find any image online, preferably one that you have the copyright or right to use. And I'm going to open that image in a new tab just because I want to get its address. I'll go ahead and copy that. Go back over here. Paste that. Take this whole thing, copy it, bring it over here, and paste that. I'll turn the other one off. Oh, I must have missed something in there. Let's go take a look. HTTP. Whoops, I got a couple HTTPs. Paste. There we go. So a neat thing about this too is that it respects that transparency. But if you don't have an image or don't have your image living online, you'll need to get it locally from your computer. And all you need to do is, in this code, just put the local address. Now, a lot of you probably don't know where to find that, and I'll show you. So I've got a few sample images here, and if you right-click and do a properties, you'll see the path. So this is under C, users, down to desktop, and then I'll need to add the name of the file after that. So I'll just go ahead and copy that, go back to my code, and paste, add the rest of it. So there we go. So now I can copy this, go back to Google Earth, oops, wrong application, right click and paste. There we go. Let's do that really quickly with the other one. So I have apartments, I believe that's commercial. I'm copying it, pasting it, and the last one I think is dwell. Copy it, paste it. So when you're creating your tour, you would want to turn these on and off. So I'll go ahead and create another tour really quick with my screen overlays, which is a part of the assignment. So record a tour, and everything I do now is being recorded. So I want to start here, and I want to turn on that first image. Then I'll want to jump to here, turn that off, turn that on. Then I'll jump to here and turn that off, turn that on. And maybe I'll zoom out and whoops. So, you know, if I did that, it'd probably be crap, do over, because it's recording all this. Turn this off. And finally, oops, I wasn't recording, I don't think. Very important, make sure you hit the record button, because had I pushed record, that would have been saved. But hopefully you get the idea. Let's do that one more time. Turn that on. Change view. Turn that off, turn that one on. Change view again. So this will be a lot less exciting tour. But this is the only way to get screen overlays to turn on and off without going into really nitty-gritty KML editing. So there we go. Make sure you save it. That saves it to your My Places. When you right-click on this file and do a Save Place As, this is super duper important because that will now embed those images in this KMZ. Otherwise, it's just linking to your desktop. So if you just gave me the code for that, it wouldn't work. We need to save this as its own KMZ, upload it, assignment is done. Good luck.